Welcome to today's edition of 10 TV Plus. I'm Dylan Robichaud alongside Jay Plyburn. And Jay,
happy Monday.
The groundhog saw his shadow.
I know, which means spring isn't coming as soon. If you buy into all that, 39% accurate.
39% accurate. We have video actually from Pennsylvania.
Let's see it.
The moment that the groundhog saw his shadow, not sure how he saw his shadow, considering the fact that it looks cloudy there in that image.
It
but
does.
You can see that's coming out of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. The 138-year tradition goes back a long time.
And people really buy into this. They go out there, celebrate this. I mean, if I lived closer, I would go celebrate it, but he's not as accurate as
I think at this point in time, it's basically a festival. People like tradition.
Oh, yeah.
People like to kind of do the same thing every year.
Absolutely.
So I think it's just people like everybody getting together. But Buckeye Chuck is predicting an early spring.
Yes.
All right. So every year in the Buckeye State, Buckeye Chuck does the same kind of thing. And apparently he is predicting an early arrival of spring in the next 4 weeks. So we'll see. He kind of looks like a groundhog.
Thanks maybe to the cloudy skies they were seeing in that part of Ohio over the weekend.
Exactly. All right, so let's get a look here at this. Over the last 138 years, the groundhog is about 39% accurate, which is literally worse than a coin flip. So I think at this point in the game, you can't put much scientific stock in what Punxsutawney Phil says because, well, it's worse than a coin flip. So there you have it. I predict spring will arrive on March 20th, which is the vernal equinox here. 44 days away in counting until the official first day of spring, but it's going to feel like it out here today. These numbers are not made up, ladies and gentlemen. These are real numbers here. Brand new data that we're looking at this afternoon. Piketon, 64 degrees. Obviously, further south of I-70, it's going to be warmer. To the north, though, the clouds are going to be more stubborn. That's going to kick the temperatures a little bit down a bit. Down to the south, though, where we get a couple of hours of sunshine this afternoon, that's going to help to kind of warm up the surface a little bit, making things feel that much warmer. Do we actually break a record today? No. We're close. We're close to it. The record is 63, set back in February 3rd of 2020. We're going to get up to about 61 this afternoon, which will be the warmest that we get. Clouds out there this morning. If we can get rid of the clouds, maybe we make it to 62, but it's going to be slim pickings. The clouds are going to be quite stubborn heading into the early afternoon. Heading into February 10th to the 16th, Climate Prediction Center says spring is going to be arriving a lot later because things are actually going to get a lot colder. The blues on the map represent below average temperatures, and then as we head down to the southeast, you got the reds and the oranges and the yellows. These are above average temperatures here. What about precipitation? We're going to have an active pattern across the Tennessee Valley and the Ohio Valley beginning as early as this week, as you'll see coming up in a couple of minutes when we get to that 7-day forecast, so stay tuned for that. Let's get a look at the forecast for today. Most of the daylight hours on your Monday will actually be quite dry. And in fact, today is very uneventful. But I want you to look up to the north here. Late this evening, a couple of hours after the sunset, we do get a weak line of showers that will rotate through the area. We're not looking at a whole lot of precipitation, maybe a few 1/100ths of an inch, but if you are out and about late tonight, just kind of heads up, you might get a few sprinkles on the way. And then our attention turns to our next weather maker coming in. This is going to be Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. So we have this warm front coming in from the south. Initially along the leading edge of that warm front, look at this, we got pinks, we got blues. Right now, the forecast models are showing that there could be just enough cold air at the ground to initially get some light freezing drizzle when this starts. Now, will there be impacts? We'll talk about that coming up in less than 30 seconds. By midnight, though, and by 1 o'clock in the morning, notice that we see that light freezing drizzle. Then quickly, we flip-flop back over to all rain. And the reason why is because temperatures warm up well above freezing. Here's a look at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it is going to be raining cats and dogs here as we head into early Thursday. Preliminary models are showing upwards of about 3/4 of an inch of rain early on Thursday, so we could be looking at some travel impacts for that. As we head towards Thursday afternoon, that cold front moves on through, and so this is predominantly just going to impact the first couple of hours of the daylight time on Thursday. Now, freezing rain, this is what you need to know. So after sunset on Wednesday, we get some light freezing rain here, and then it's going to go over to all rain. Question is, a lot of folks get scared when you mention the possibility of freezing rain, like what's going to happen with the roadways? Are there going to be downed trees and power outages? The quick answer is no. Here's why I'm not expecting travel impacts, okay? Today and tomorrow, we are well above freezing. So the road temperatures are going to be super, super warm. And so even though the air temperatures will be colder on Wednesday, I'm not expecting anything to freeze on contact because of that. So let's get a look right now at that 7-day forecast. And again, heading into Wednesday, you'll notice that the daylight hours, very uneventful. And then as we head towards late Wednesday evening, this is our high resolution, high definition forecast model. You can see that these light pockets of freezing drizzle move on through. Again, little to no ice accumulation here. I'm not really anticipating any slick roads. And then eventually here's that warm front here that's going to push in that warm air from the south and eventually lead us to just plain old rain. Speaking of plain old rain, take a look here at Thursday, especially in the morning hours here. This is not an all-day event, but early in the morning, we could see a ½ inch to an inch of rain. So umbrellas definitely needed here on Thursday morning. Heading into Friday, we catch a break. Saturday, we'll be tracking our next storm that is going to move on through the area. Could be looking at a little bit of a cool down heading into Sunday of this next week. But right now, again, the main focus will be for that threat of some freezing drizzle late Wednesday night going into Thursday.
It's wild to see 60s on the map there, but also hearing about freezing drizzle. Those are kind of two opposite ends.
Exactly. This time of the year, again, now that the sun angle is getting a little bit higher, you got the two seasons kind of battling it out.
Yeah.
So this is just our setup for the next couple of weeks where we're going to have a lot of these close calls where we could be looking at some ice and some freezing rain.
I'm just hoping we see more 60s on the forecast.
That makes two of us.
Forward. Yeah.
All right, time now for a little weather trivia action today.
Excellent.
Today's question has to do with actually what we were just talking about, that risk of freezing rain. This weather setup leads to the possibility of freezing rain, all right? A full layer of air above freezing, a full layer of air below freezing, cold air above warm air, or warm air above cold air.
Okay. I'm thinking, so if it's coming down as rain and then freezing, I'm thinking that the warm air has to be above the cold air, so D.
Yes.
Yes!
I think that's the first time you've ever been right.
No, not ever. Maybe on this program.
Good job. All right, so now let's go ahead into a little bit of an explanation showing exactly how this is set up. Typically, this happens along the leading edge of warm fronts here, and this is exactly what happens in the upper atmosphere. So the atmosphere is three-dimensional. So you got to look not just at the ground, but what's happening upstairs in the atmosphere. Okay, here's my 3D schematic for you. On this side of the page, when you get snow, the whole column from the cloud all the way down to the ground is below 32 degrees. Now, what we see with situations like Wednesday night, what happens is that you have a little layer of air within the lowest 500 feet that is below freezing. And then if you go upstairs in the atmosphere, the temperatures actually warm up. For example, 5,000 feet, the temperature might be 34 degrees. At the ground, the temperature might be 28 degrees, all right? And so this is what we call an inversion because the temperature is inverted. Now, on the contrary, rain would be the whole column is above freezing. And so as that warm front slides off to the east, eventually we get this warm air, and that's going to help us be above freezing. So here's another schematic to help you kind of better visualize it. All right, so rain, of course, precipitation starts as snow in the, up around 30,000 feet. And then you get that pocket of above freezing air. Obviously, it all melts, turns to rain. As we talk about freezing rain, it still starts off as snow, but then you have this major column of air above 32 degrees that melts. And then eventually when it hits the ground, it freezes on contact because in the lowest 500 feet, the temperatures are below freezing. And then as we talk about sleet, what happens is that you still have that warm layer, but it is shrunken. So you don't have as big of a warm layer. And so think of sleet almost like a partially melted snowflake, if you will. And then as we head over here, snow, again, your whole column from the cloud all the way down to the ground is above 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's kind of how that works out. And of course, you know, for these types of weather situations, even a degree or two plus or minus can greatly change the outcome of whether what the precipitation type is. So this is where we really earn our paychecks.
You certainly do.
In these close call situations.
And the freezing rain, you got to be careful with that because that'll mess everything up for everybody.
Exactly. Definitely slow things down. All right, that does it for us here on 10 TV Plus. Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz is back here on 10 TV News starting right at 6 o'clock.
See ya.